Okay, this is 2 months later in Will's point of view. When I walk out of my cabin, all I can see is the glitter of the lake and the rich green of the forest pressing all the way down to the shore. The sun's fierce, and I turn my face to it, closing my eyes, hoping for once it will chase away the shadows lingering over me. But they're still there. It's been months of not seeing her, not hearing her voice, not even looking her up online, forbidding myself to, and still I can't shake her off me. She's a virus I can't clear out of my blood, and I hate it. That's not to say I haven't found peace of some description. As I step off the deck of my wooden house and listen to the wind whistling through the trees and the chirping of the birds, I can't help but smile. For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm in a place I want to be, surrounded by nature, fully immersed in it, living off the grid and an hour from the nearest town. I know I'm home, and I'm doing a job I was made for. In the distance, I can hear the kids starting to wake up, their calls and yells and laughter filling me with a sense of satisfaction and purpose I've never had until now. Not only did Kit set me up with a loan, which I'm working on paying off, but Walker had a buddy who runs a camp in the High Sierras, north of Lake Tahoe. In summer, they mainly take kids from all over, but for the rest of the year they run programs in partnership with social services and the juvenile justice system. They're wilderness adventure therapy programs, and it's working with those kids that I'm finding I can really make a difference. I'm actually helping transform lives. We currently have our last group staying with us before the official camp program begins. 30 kids, all teenagers, in juvenile detention across the state. Most who grew up in the foster care system arrived a week ago with a vast amount of attitude and anger issues. But within the space of 6 days, where we've pushed them to their limits physically, we've seen a huge shift in their behavior. A job I used to dream about is actually my dream job. I get these kids. I get their pain and I get their anger. I get that for most of them, not having a father figure to look up to has left them struggling to know who they are or how to figure life out. I also get that having people believing in them and showing them they can master things, like Joe did for me, is a powerful tool in raising their self-esteem and their ideas of what they can achieve in life. It might not be the kind of work that requires a PhD or some wild talent like Luna's, but it feels like it's something I can do well. I've already signed up to start a learning degree in social work in the fall. Eventually, I hope to specialize in supporting children in the foster and juvenile system, but honestly, I can't see myself ever wanting to leave this place. The fact it's miles from anywhere and has no cell phone service or internet connectivity makes it even better. Every weekend, I drive into the nearest town and spend an hour or two in a coffee shop, catching up on calls to friends and family, and I found that living away from all the noise makes me happy. I don't know how I put up with LA for so long, other than the fact that Luna was there, but I try not to think of that, or of her and what she's doing. It hurts too much. I know she's back with Jamie because Kate blurted it out to me. The knowledge weighs on me. I wonder all the time if when she was with me, she always intended to get back with him. Ultimately, I've come to accept that we're two very different people on very different paths. Our lives crossed briefly, and I'll never regret falling in love with her. I'll only ever regret not telling her. I stop on the shore of the lake. The water's like ice. Every morning I take a swim to wake myself up and to wash away whatever lingering dreams of Luna are hanging around. I dive in and the water slaps the air out of me. I break the surface, gasping, letting out a holler that echoes off the ribbon of trees surrounding the lake. When I swim back to shore, I find someone waiting for me. "What are you doing here?" I ask as I pull myself up onto the dock. Marty scowls, looking around at the forest and the lake with this distaste. "I'd say the same. Took me a bloody age to hunt you down." I grab a towel from the rail and wrap it around my waist. "That looks bloody freezing," Marty says, nodding at the water. "You should try it sometime," I say, my heart hammering wildly, not from the shock of the cold, but from the sight of Marty after so long. What's he doing here, looking so out of place in his tight trousers, gold jewelry, and Rolex watch? "Not bloody likely," he grunts. "What are you doing here?" I ask. "Luna," he says, and my heart stops. What's happened? Luna's point of view. Turns out swimming to shore is a lot harder when you're in shark-infested waters. My mom is Jaws. She's fighting like a great white, scenting blood in the water to stop me from emancipating myself. Even though I'm 19 and technically an adult, my entire life is wrapped up in a trust that she controls. All my finances, the corporation that controls the rights to all my music, is in my mom's name and control. And furthermore, since I have a diagnosis of anxiety, she's using that to try to enforce a conservatorship, telling the court I'm not mentally capable of making decisions about my life. I have, however, found a lawyer to fight her so I can win my freedom and control my assets and finances. I know my mom is hurt and angry. She honestly thinks she is doing the right thing to protect me. That left to my own devices, I might go off on the rails. Her version of that, though, is that I quit the career she's carefully honed for me and take a riskier, less financially solid path. I've been on tour for a month and around the US, so I haven't had a chance to push forward with anything and am too tired most days to think about the next steps. But for now, I'm happy that I'm finally swimming at least, not drowning, and the shore is getting closer. Once I'm done, in a few weeks' time, I'm planning on moving out of LA and finishing work on my next album. I want to take some time for myself, get my head straight, focus on self-care and doing more therapy. I've even started thinking about new managers, but I'm not in a hurry to sign with anyone, not given my experience with Marty. My anxiety hasn't magically gone away. I'm just learning to manage it in healthier ways that don't involve unhealthy habits. The threats from the man in the black cap haven't materialized, which helps, as does stepping back from social media. I leave that to a new social media manager to handle. Beyond that, I'm also meditating. I wish I could tell Will. I'm finding it so useful for helping reduce the anxiety attacks I was experiencing. I haven't had an attack since the one after the Ali Friedman show. I'm playing LA tonight. It's my last show. Matthias and Carla are coming, and I can't wait to see them. Carla doesn't know it, but I've also invited Francisco, the gardener. If I leave it to the two of them, I'm guessing neither will make a move, so I'm nudging them in the right direction. I've reserved them a box, and they'll get a full VIP experience. All in all, though, I feel good. Better than I have since the breakup with Will, but still not as happy as I was when I was with him. I doubt I'll ever feel that happy again. That was once-in-a-lifetime happiness. But as soon as I think of him, I push the thought away. I can't go there. Not when I have to perform tonight. It takes a lot to get through these shows, both mentally and physically, and I need to stay focused. I can't allow that negative voice to gain a foothold. I get up from where I'm cross-legged on the floor of my dressing room, having been meditating, and look in the mirror. I'm dressed for the show, covered in glittering makeup, my hair slick and shiny and a ponytail down my back. I smile, and for the first time in forever, I recognize the girl in the mirror. It feels as if the smile is real, and that it isn't for anyone else but me. It's a smile that says, "You're doing it. You're surviving. You are worthy of love and happiness." There's a knock on my dressing room door, and I turn around. It's Marcelo. My bodyguard is posted outside the door, and I nod at him that it's okay to let him in. "These came for you," Marcelo says. He pulls a large bouquet of dark crimson-colored roses from behind his back. They're from Jamie. He still hasn't let up with sending me flowers, even though I never respond or even let him know I've received them. I'm hoping he'll get the message, and I'm confused as to why he hasn't. I read the note with disinterest. "Good luck tonight, babe. Can't wait to see you perform. Love, Jamie. XX." I read it again. What? He's coming tonight? I didn't know that. When will he get the message we're over? I scrunch up the note. I'll have someone deliver the flowers to the nearest hospital to cheer up the nurses. It's what I always do with the flowers he sends. "What's this? Did someone send you cookies?" Marcel asks as he sets the bouquet down on my dressing table. I look over and see that a box has appeared there. A cake box wrapped in a pink satin ribbon. Trembling, I reach for the ribbon, tug on the end. It slips undone easily, and then I lift the lid off the box. Marcelo lets out a gasp. "Oh my God," he says, his hand flying to his mouth. The stench billows up and smacks me in the nostrils. Vomit lurches up my throat. A dead rat lies in the box. I reach for the note attached to the ribbon. In large red letters that look like they've been scrawled in blood, it says, "This is your last day on Earth. Say goodbye, bitch. Will. This is Will's point of view. I stand opposite Marty on the jetty, dripping wet. What do you mean, she needs me? She needs you. Let's go. He starts to march away. What's happened? Has there been another threat? I ask. Marty shouts over his shoulder. We need to go. I'll explain on the way. I stare at his retreating back. Why isn't he telling me? He must be in danger. Why else would he come get me like this? My feet are itching to run after him, but my stubbornness roots me to the ground. That and the knowledge she's with Jamie. Besides, I'm working, and she has security. They can handle whatever threat might have come up. I've also got a restraining order and can't go near her. Or did Marty forget that? Marty glances over his shoulder and sees me standing there, not moving. Are you coming or not? Plane's waiting. He came in a private jet? What the hell? A sense of foreboding grabs hold of me. She must be in danger for him to come here like this. I battle warring instincts. I swore I'd never let anyone hurt her. Even after everything that's gone on, I can't let that promise go. I've already failed once with my family. I can't break a second promise to someone I love. But at the same time, what would I be running into? What's happened? I ask again. Marty throws up his hands. She's not with Jamie, if that's what you're worried about. His admission shocks me because it wasn't even what I was asking. She's never got back with him, Marty goes on. That whole stunt on the Ali Friedman show, that was just a PR move. I'm sorry. I should never have tried to break you two up. You were good for her. I blink in astonishment. They aren't together? He shakes his head. No. So will you come now? Marty's private plane is waiting at an airfield in Tahoe to fly us back to LA. I tell my boss that it's an emergency, and he kindly lets me take a leave of absence for 24 hours. I'm still fighting some warring instincts. This could go horribly wrong if her mother sees me and calls the cops. That concern falls away. Are you ever going to tell me what's going on? I ask Marty for the 20th time as I strap into my seat and glance around nervously at the white leather interior of what is a very small plane. Marty looks out the window as we take off and exhales loudly. It turns out maybe I was wrong, he says, once we're off the ground and juddering into the air. I had what might be called a come to Jesus moment. I know I must look confused as hell, because he continues. I saw the damage that was being done to Luna. He squirms in his seat, uncomfortable at the admission. I think, until then, I hadn't wanted to face facts, because, all the money you were making off her, I suggest. He nods, grimacing a little in shame. Yeah. But after the Ali Friedman show, when she collapsed... She collapsed? I interrupt. Yeah, he admits a little sheepishly. She had a huge anxiety attack, couldn't breathe. I honestly thought she was having a heart attack. I feel my hands crunching into fists and have to restrain myself from getting up and pummeling him backward into his seat. What happened? I ask through gritted teeth. Marty winces. I took her home, called a doctor. She was fine, don't worry. Fine? I run a hand through my hair. You don't have any idea, do you, of what you put her through? You and her mom both. You're a piece of shit, Marty. Yeah, he acknowledges with a nod. Worse than that. And that's why I quit. I tried talking to her mother afterward, telling her that enough was enough and we needed to rethink the strategy for managing Luna, but she wasn't having it. She told me I could either get with the program or take a hike, so I quit. You had a crisis of conscience, I sneer, shaking my head in disbelief. So you quit and abandoned her to her mother. That's a great move. Well done. Marty hangs his head in shame. I know, he says, which is why I have spent so much time trying to find you. Your family wouldn't speak to me or tell me where you were. I had to hire a private investigator to track you down. Once again, I'm surprised. I gave my family orders not to talk to anyone who came around asking questions about me and Luna. Why were you trying to find me? I ask. What do you think I can do? Her mom put a restraining order on me. She set me up, hacked my emails, made Luna think I sold her out. If I go near her, I'll be arrested. His eyes widen with shock. I didn't know about the restraining order. I knew she hacked your emails. Who told you that? I ask, stunned he knows about it. Carla. How does she know? I ask, bewildered. Matthias overheard you arguing with her mom before you left. He told Luna about it. I sink back in my seat and try to process that. Luna knows that her mother set me up. That changes things, though I'm not entirely sure how. If she knew the truth, then why didn't she reach out to me? Before the question fully forms in my mind, realization hits me like a bucket of ice water. Shit. I changed my email and my phone number. Maybe she has been trying, and she thinks I've been ignoring her. I can only imagine how that's made her feel. I open my eyes wider and look at Marty. I still don't know why I'm here, I say angrily. Has she had more threats? Have they found the guy? Is she in danger? No, admits Marty, wincing again. I mean, I wouldn't actually know because, like I said, I quit. Shit. He made up the urgency. He deliberately made it sound like something had happened or was about to, and I was needed. And he did it because he knew it would be the only safe way to make sure I got on this damn plane. And I fell for it like a total idiot. I was so desperate to run back to her, to act like some stupid hero, and I've been made a fool of. Luna isn't in danger. She doesn't need me. She hasn't asked for me. Once again, I ask even more angrily, what the hell am I doing here, then? Marty stands up, his head almost brushing the top of the plane. If Luna's still in the same boat as she was a month ago, then she needs help. Last time she was in a dark place, she spiraled out of control, started abusing her prescription pills, mixing them with booze. I'm scared for her, honestly. What with being on tour, that's what happened that last time. The pressure got to her, and I'm guessing because you're here on this plane with me that you still care about her. He looks at me hopefully. He isn't wrong. Of course I still care about her. I've tried to move on, but this whole time away from her, she's been a near constant in my thoughts. I look at Marty harder. I can see now what this is. Are you telling me this is some kind of rescue mission? I ask. His eyes light up. Exactly, mate. Knew you'd get it, being an ex-soldier and all. Marine, I reply under my breath. He makes a whatever face, then leans toward me. It's a rescue mission. We're going into enemy territory and we're going to rescue the target, the hostage, and get her safely back home. That's with you. I raise an eyebrow at Marty, whose gung-ho expression makes me want to both laugh and roll my eyes. He's watched way too many movies. He sees me hesitate. Don't worry about the restraining order. If you're caught, we'll tell the judge all the lies Luna's mother told. I'll be your witness. He pauses. I'm not sure that would count for much, but it doesn't matter. I've already made up my mind. So, are you with me? He asks, grinning. I nod. Yeah, I'm with you. Luna's point of view? The noise of the crowd is a deafening roar, so loud it's like being inside a barrel of a wave, but it still can't silence the screams in my head. 20 minutes ago, I was feeling calm and confident, and now I'm falling apart. It shows me just how shaky my new sense of self was. I was a badly constructed Jenga tower, and someone has pulled a block from the very bottom and I'm collapsing in slow motion. Adrenaline pounds furiously through my veins, making it hard to breathe or think straight. I take a swig from my water bottle, hoping it might drown the million ants that have started to burrow and scratch beneath my skin. I thought I had it under control. I was managing to swim with my head above water, but just like that, I've been dragged under. The idea of walking on stage in front of 70,000 people is suddenly an impossibility. How can I, knowing someone out there wants to kill me? How did they slip unnoticed into my dressing room? How did they get past my bodyguard? Everyone with backstage access is meant to have been security checked. No stranger should be able to get back here, so whoever it is must work for me. But who do I know that could secretly hate me that much? The roar in the distance grows louder, making me think of a hungry crowd baying for a gladiator's blood. I have to go out there. I don't have a choice. The clock is ticking. I think of Will to help calm me and wonder where he is right now, if he's happy. Closing my eyes, I allow myself to picture him, focus on recalling every detail, pulling them out of my memory like treasures from a box. I see the soft curve of his lips and the rough scratch of his beard and how it felt when he kissed me. I remember the exact sensation of his hands gliding down my body, coming to rest on my hips, the way he tugged me toward him. I can visualize the warmth in his smoky gray eyes as he looked at me, seeing all the way through the outer layer to the real me inside. For a while, we were free, on the run together, never glancing over our shoulders or looking back, but only focusing on the present and each other. The rest of the world could have gone to hell. It was just us. I smile as I recall those days of dizzy escape, but then the smile fades. I always knew deep down that they'd have to end. You can't be a fugitive from your life forever. One day you'll get caught and sent back to do your time. I just wish it hadn't happened so soon. I wish we'd had longer. Every breath is a ragged gasp. The air isn't making it into my lungs, and the black spots swirl in front of my eyes. I stumble over to my bag and root through it in growing desperation, looking for my anxiety medication. After what feels like ages, I find it, popping the pills from their silver packet and dry swallowing them. They get stuck in my throat, so I search for a water bottle. I cross to the mini fridge beneath the dresser that the stadium staff makes sure is filled with cold drinks for me and any guests I might have. Inside, I find a dozen miniature bottles of vodka, gin, and whiskey, as well as beer and sodas and flavored water. I grab for the water, but then hesitate, and instead reach for the liquor. Will's point of view. Marty tells me to duck down low as he drives into the stadium's VIP parking garage. He's waved through easily enough, and I glance up at him in surprise. He clocks my look and shrugs. Most of them still think I'm Luna's manager, he says, and he points to the security pass that he has given that gives him backstage entry. I know the stadium manager. So much for Luna's new security. The thought doesn't sit well with me at all. He parks in the VIP area, which I take as a bold move, but hardly expect less from Marty. We get out of the car and stride toward a back entrance between trailers and 24 or so backstage workers. All I can hear is the roaring of a crowd that's so loud it could be mistaken for thunder rumbling overhead. The ground shakes with it. It takes a few seconds before I realize everyone is chanting Luna's name. I stare up at the vast stadium ahead of us in awe. I knew Luna was big-time huge, but the thought that she can fill a stadium this size is mind-blowing. It makes me see her in a whole new light, appreciate even more the pressure she's under. I can't imagine performing in front of a crowd as big as the one I can hear screaming her name. No wonder she has anxiety. It also makes me realize just how hard it would have been for her to walk away. How do you walk away from this? Where do you go? Now that we're actually here, I'm starting to wonder what Marty and I are doing. Seeing Luna's face illuminated on the front of the stadium and hearing all these people chanting her name like she's a deity is a hard reality check. What are we doing here? I find myself asking. We're going to find Luna, Marty says, striding toward the entrance. I slow my pace until I come to a standstill. I don't know about this, I admit, having second thoughts. Marty turns and marches back over to me. We didn't come this far for you to back out now. What if you're wrong and she doesn't need rescuing? I ask. Marty opens his mouth and then shuts it. Well, you're here, so... Something catches my attention over his shoulder. Black cap, I say, blinking in astonishment. Marty turns to look. I'd been scanning the faces of everyone around, something I always do, without even realizing it. That guy, I say, nodding my head at the man in the distance. 5'10", wearing the red plaid shirt and the black cap. He's a roadie, Marty says, clocking him. They all wear caps. The guy Natalie said she saw hanging around in the dressing room was wearing a black cap. And the man who delivered the note at the Ali Friedman studio was too, Marty adds, his voice rising. The man is striding among a dozen trailers, and I sprint to catch up with him, grabbing him by the shoulder and hauling him around to face me. He's about 30, everyday looking, nothing that would make him stand out in a crowd. He's startled, his eyes flaring with panic. What? He asks. Where's your security pass? Marty demands. The man pulls a laminated pass out of his pocket. Marty grabs it, then looks at me. It's legit, he says to me, and I let the man go, disappointed. He scowls at us both, mutters under his breath, and walks off. But something about the way he moves like a scuttling insect, his head lowered, and the nervous way he glances back at us, sets my inner alarm system off. I've seen men like that before, when I've been on the guard duty at the base. We're taught to scan body language for cues, and his is screaming that he's up to no good. We know whoever's been threatening Luna is someone who has access to the backstage areas, and this guy has a security pass. I start running after him again. He glances back, sees me coming, and runs in between two huge trailers. I sprint after him, spotting him as he rounds a corner and races for the stadium's backstage entrance. A dozen roadies are milling around, and he disappears into their midst. I burst through the crowd seconds after him, looking around desperately to spot him. I catch sight of his back, disappearing through the door, but before I can run after him, the stadium security guard catches my arm. Stop, he yells. You can't go in there, not without a pass. Luna. I'm unscrewing the cap on the vodka bottle and I'm about to tip it down my throat when there's a knock on the door. I drop the bottle in fright and leap back as the door flies open. Luna? It's Matthias. The relief almost knocks me to my knees. Carla is behind him, and behind her is my bodyguard. Carla sees at once that I'm not okay and rushes over to me. What's happened? She asks. There was another one, I stammer. She knows immediately what I mean, and worry floods her face. Where was your bodyguard? She asks, both annoyance and worry in her voice. I think someone slipped in while I was on stage doing the sound check. They must have a security pass, though, to be able to get back here, I say, starting to pace. I feel as if I'm trapped inside a giant anthill, being eaten alive by insects. Cartoons, Matthias yells, leaping for the TV remote, trying to turn it to the Cartoon Network. I can't go on, I murmur to Carla as she takes my hands and tries to ground me. Carla looks me in the eyes. Breathe, she says. Hysteria grips me. I can't breathe. I'm almost dizzy for lack of oxygen. How can I walk out there? Carla glances down and sees the vodka bottle on the floor. My face flushes. She looks up at me, but instead of consternation, I only see concern on her face. You don't have to go out there, she tells me. I shake my head empathetically. I have to, I say. That's your mother's and Marty's voices. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I frown. Is that right? I can't not go out there, though. People have paid money to see me perform. I can't let them down. What if he's out there? I say, in a voice that's barely a whisper. How will I manage to sing if I can't even talk? What if Will was here? Carla asks. I shake my head again, not wanting to imagine it, but she persists. What would he say to you right now? I swallow the lump in my throat and find my voice. He'd tell me I didn't have to go on. Carla nods. Exactly. But I have to, I sob, as the din above our heads seems to amplify. Listen to everyone, I have to go on. Okay, Carla says, looking me calmly in the eyes. And if you told him that, what would he say? He'd tell me to take a deep breath and count to 7. Carla nods again. Can you do that? I do, breathing in through my nose, holding it for 4, letting it out for 8. I do it a few times until I start to feel calmer. Having Carla here, holding my hands, looking into my eyes, helps enormously. The black spots dancing at the edge of my vision slink away, and my heart is no longer crashing into my ribs quite as hard. One more night, I whisper to myself. Just one more night, and then I'm done. The shore is so close. You can do it, Carla says. I take another deep breath in. Yes, I can. I'm not going to let this person terrify me any longer. I'm not giving them the satisfaction. For too long, I've allowed others to control my life, and I'm done with it. This is the last time I'm ever going to perform these songs. I'm retiring the old Luna, but tonight I owe it to her to pay homage, send her out with a bang. Okay, I say. Carla smiles. If you're going out there, will you play that song? She asks, pointing at my guitar sitting in the corner of the room. Which one? The one you wrote for Will. The one about the lighthouse? How does she know I wrote that song for Will? I frown at her, and she shrugs at me. You hum it all the time. We should play it tonight. It's my favorite. I don't think so, I say, not wanting to have to explain to her that tours don't work that way, that we have a list of choreographed songs that we work through. Please, she says. Wrong audience, I tell her. They won't like it. Or maybe they will, she says. It's so silly, but I honestly hadn't thought that my fans would like it. I'd assumed that, like Marty and my mom, they wouldn't. What if Carla is right? A knock on the door interrupts us. Time, the stage manager says, poking her head inside the room. Will's point of view? Marty intercedes with the security guy, and he finally lets me go. Luckily for him, as I was about to break his arm. The guy in the cap is getting away. I chase him inside, darting around men carrying cables and dancers rushing to take their places. The guy in the cap slips through a doorway up ahead, and I race and manage to catch the door with my foot just before it slams shut. I dart through, following him into the area beneath the stage. Overhead, the cacophony of crowd beats like a drum. There are cables and what looks like sets, and so much equipment that the man slips from my sight, sinking into the shadows. I creep forward slowly, trying to adjust my eyes to the gloom, my hearing useless as the music and chanting above my head is so loud. I catch a glimpse of red and dart forward just in time to grab the collar of the man's shirt. I haul him backward, tripping him and throwing him down on the ground, pressing my knee to his chest and my forearm to his neck. He struggles. "Why did you run?" I ask, patting him down with my free hand in case he has a weapon on him. "Because you were chasing me." Only guilty people run. I'm having to shout over the sound of the crowd above, yelling Luna's name. "Did you send Luna those letters? And the dead animals?" The man grunts. I push my weight down further onto his chest. "Yes," he shouts. "Please, get off." "Why?" I ask, digging my knee even harder into him. I can feel my anger getting the better of me. He threatened Luna. He wanted to kill her. Rage blackens my vision, muddles my thinking, but I'm not my dad. I breathe deep and wrestle back control before I lose it completely. The guy is saying something that I can't hear over the screams of the audience above us. I lean closer. "What did you say?" "It wasn't me," he yells. "I was just the delivery guy." Luna's point of view. The thunder was deafening, but has now started to take form, and I can hear it's not an endless roar, but rather there's rhythm to it. They're yelling my name. Luna. It's a wave that keeps crashing to shore, drawing me closer even though the weight of it may crush me. For once, I'm going to let the voices that are filled with love and support drown out the voice of hate. I step on stage, feeling lightheaded and light-limbed, but refusing to give in to my fear or let it control me any longer. The stage is dark, and the audience too. I can only make out blackness punctuated by the starlight of 20,000 or so phone flashes held aloft. Every step toward my starting place among the dancers feels impossible, and at one point, I freeze before forcing myself onward, taking deep breaths as I go, needing to remind myself that I'm not letting this person win, that I owe it to myself and my fans to do this tonight. The backup dancers are ready. When the stage lights go up in 30 seconds and the music starts to play, I'm meant to be in position, in the center of the stage, standing on a plinth that will rise with me on it. I find my mark. I take my place. The lights go up. Will's point of view. I find Marty scouring backstage trying to find me, I'm guessing, and I run over to grab his arm. "Marty," I say, shouting to be heard over the furious screams of the audience. I found out who's behind the threats. "Did you get the guy? Where did he go?" he says, looking over my shoulder for the guy in the black cap. "It wasn't him," I say. "He was just the delivery guy." "Well, did he tell you who he's doing it for?" Marty asks. "Yeah, and you won't believe it." The audience is screaming so loud that I have to lean in close and shout it in his ear. Marty reels back, looking at me, blinking. "Are you serious?" he asks me, seeming like he doesn't believe me for 1 second. Then he turns and marches off. I run after him. "Where are you going?" I shout over the roar of the audience cheers. I'm going to go and find that little pillock," Marty says. "He's here?" I ask. Marty nods. "Yeah, I just found out. When you took off after that guy, one of the roadies let me know he'd just seen Jamie." "Where is he?" "Probably gone straight for Luna's dressing room." He starts jogging and I join him. "I thought they'd broken up," I say. "I thought so too," Marty growls. "What are we going to do when we find him?" I ask, wondering if he means to bring in the police. Marty doesn't answer. He charges down a corridor like an angry bull, sending roadies and other backstage staff scurrying to get out of his way. We weave our way through a maze of backstage corridors, and Marty stops outside a door to a dressing room. A huge security guard stands in the way, guarding it. My heart starts racing at the thought I'm about to see Luna, but then I hear her voice booming through the speakers overhead. She's on stage, above me. The crowd is going wild, the decibel level doubling. It feels as if the ceiling is going to collapse with the thunder of feet and the roar of voices. "Stand aside," Marty barks at the security guard, who, not recognizing him, shakes his head. "I'm her manager," Marty huffs, conveniently leaving out the X part. "I'm her manicurist," says the man with a snicker. "No, seriously," Marty says. The guard looks pissed, then impatient. "IDs, please." "Is Jamie in there?" I ask. The guard looks me over. "ID, please, and security pass." Before we have to reply, the door to the dressing room opens. It's Jamie, sticking his head out with a frown, wondering what the commotion is. Marty lunges and grabs him by the collar. "You little shit," he says, dragging Jamie out into the corridor. The bodyguard goes for Marty, but I drag him back. He shoves me against the wall and I protest. "It's not what you think." The security guard reaches for his radio to call for backup. He's the one sending Luna the packages, the threats, I say. The security guard looks at Jamie and then at Marty. He's right. Marty's still holding on to Jamie, who looks like he might be about to collapse in tears. This is the guy who's been terrorizing Luna. The security guard gives me another look, then lets me go, running me with a look and a gesture to stay where I am and not move an inch. I nod. It's for the best I stay here, because there's a very real danger that I might try to rip Jamie a new one. Marty pulls out from his pocket a handful of letters Jamie has sent to Luna and shoves them in Jamie's face. Jamie feigns incomprehension. What's this? He asks. Don't give me that bollocks, Marty shouts back. I know it was you that sent them, and the dead animals. Let's see what the cops have to say about this, shall we, as well as the SPCA. Jamie turns pale. What are you talking about? He croaks. Marty pulls one of the letters from an envelope and reads it out loud. I'm going to watch you die, you ugly bitch. I'm going to make it slow. Jamie cringes, a red bloom coloring his cheeks. Another one just came in, the bodyguard says, showing Marty and me a white envelope in a plastic baggie. Jamie takes a step back, away from Marty's flying spittle and the bodyguard who was now getting in his face. Telling us you don't recognize any of these? Marty asks. Jamie shakes his head mutely and takes another step backward, looking between the three of us. Jamie don't write songs with half as much sentiment, Marty laughs. You might still have a career. Jamie flushes, his mouth pursed with indignation. Because that's what this is about, isn't it? Says Marty. I should have known. You can't stand the fact that Luna's getting more successful than you. No, Jamie protests. It looks like he might be still about to burst into tears. Not that. I don't believe it for a second. I love her, Jamie argues. Funny way of showing it, I snap. The flowers didn't work. Nothing I did worked, he says in a whiny voice. What are you talking about? I ask. Every time I sent one, she'd come back to me. Marty and I stare at him and exchange a bewildered look. Are you saying you sent her death threats so she'd get back together with you? Marty asks. Out of fear? I add, still trying to wrap my head around it all. I suspected him at the very beginning, when I interviewed with Luna's mother and she dismissed my theory, but I was right. Why did no one spot the pattern? I suppose that breakups were so frequent that no one saw the correlation, but the dead pigeon did arrive when they were broken up. Jamie shuffles his feet. I keep a grip on the raging anger that's doing its best to Incredible Hulk its way out of me. You deliberately tried to scare her so she'd look to you for support? I ask. His shoulders slump. It's not a nod, but he doesn't deny it either. That's messed up, Marty says, shaking his head in disgust. She's on anxiety medication. She's lived her life in fear because of this, I say, stepping toward Jamie, feeling the rage building like a tsunami inside me. He shrinks away from me. I didn't mean to upset her. I love her. I grab him by the collar and twist it. He lets out an alarmed yelp. That's not love. You don't even know what it means, I shout. She needs me, he whimpers. Or is it that you need her? I spit through a clenched jaw. You're afraid that you're nothing without her. She doesn't need you to be successful, but you need her. The only way you could feel big was by making her feel small. I'm right. I can see it in his face. The way the muscle in his jaw spasms and the truth flares in his eyes. I let him go, tucking him backward and away from me with revulsion. Marty pokes Jamie in the chest with his index finger. Hate to break it to you, mate, but once the world hears about this, your career is cancelled. The only thing you're going to be starring in is celebs behind bars. Throughout the confrontation, Jamie has been shrinking smaller and smaller into himself, and his face has been scrunching up tighter and tighter. I wonder if he may explode or try to brush past us, but no, he collapses crying to the ground. Marty stares down at him in open disgust, as though he's looking at a slug. I didn't mean it. It's not fair, Jamie says, sobbing. He looks up at me, glaring. You took her away from me. It's tempting to kick him. You couldn't bear someone else being with her, not even if it made her happy, I tell him. You are a selfish asshole. He swallows and can't meet my eye. I guess, though, I should actually thank you, I say. He frowns up at me. I smile at him. I was only employed to protect Luna because of the letters you were sending, I explain. If you hadn't sent them, I never would have met her. What I don't add is that I would never have fallen in love with her either. I would never have gotten to know what it was like to love someone as extraordinary as that girl whose voice I can hear above us right now. The girl who is so close to me and who I suddenly have an overwhelming urge to see. Are you going to tell Luna? Jamie asked, his voice trembling. Tell Luna? I'm going to tell the bloody police, Marty bellows. Jamie throws himself forward. Please, don't, he cries. You're pathetic, you know that? Marty says, trying to kick him off. I walk out the door, done with listening to Jamie's sniveling excuses. Marty can handle it from here. Luna's point of view. I finish the first song and we roll right into the second. I drop a few lines, distracted by worry, but it doesn't matter because the audience is screaming the lines anyway, filling in the gaps for me. I can do this. I can hold it together. The audience is lifting me up, making me feel stronger, and I have to trust that my bodyguard and the security team are doing their jobs and keeping me safe from whatever threat is out there. There's a break between this song and the next. I meant to make a quick costume change in the wings. When the song ends, though, I don't run off stage as I meant to. No, I walked to the center of the stage and said, Change of plan, I say. I look up at the box where the sound and lighting guys are sitting, mouths falling open. I've gone off script. They don't know what to do, but they're pro enough at their jobs that they switch on a spotlight and center me in it. The crowd is screaming and applauding, and I smile and thank them, and then I say, how would everyone like to hear something else? Something new, something I've been working on. My voice sounds strong, stronger than I feel. Focus, I tell myself. Good, I say, my voice trembling, because I have something special I want to play for you. I turn around and look into the wings where among the shocked backup dancers, all of whom are standing around bewildered, wondering what the hell is happening. I can't make out anyone because of the glaring lights, but I wave toward where I told Matthias to wait in the wings. A second later, he rushes out onto the stage with my guitar. I put my arm around him. Everyone, this is my brother Matthias. I say to the audience, say hi. The crowd roars hello, and Matthias grins from ear to ear, delighted. Thank you, I whisper to him. He runs off stage. Thank you all for being here tonight, I say to the audience once he's gone. I look down at my feet, feeling a little dizzy all of a sudden. What am I doing? But then I push on. I look up again into the diamond glittering lights, and my smile fades. I let it. I let it all fall away. I force away the fear, and I force the Luna that's been stepping out on stage every night on tour, the Luna everyone here knows, or thinks they know, out of the way too. I tell her thanks, but it's time to go. I don't need you anymore. I take off the mask and drop the facade, and as I face the audience, blind, I feel more vulnerable than if I were standing here naked. I want to sing you something that I wrote for someone who changed my life, someone I loved very much. And here my voice cracks, and I have to take a deep breath. Someone I'm still in love with, if I'm honest. Someone in the audience yells, Jamie, and I could ignore it. I could choose to keep the truth hidden, but I don't. I look out into the audience and say, no, this song is for Will. Will's point of view. My whole body goes into a state of paralysis. Did Luna just say my name? I must have misheard. But suddenly I see Matthias waving at me from backstage. He runs over to me. You're here. He slaps me on the shoulder. She said your name. Will, he shouts. We both turn toward the stage. There, through the wings, I can see a single spotlight illuminating her. Luna. My breath catches in my chest. She looks so beautiful, glowing gold beneath the lights. She strums a chord and I recognize the tune. It's the song about the lighthouse. She's singing it for me. Does she know I'm here? She stands on the stage in a single spotlight of light in an ocean of dark. With no backup dancers or other musicians, the focus is purely on her, and it's as if all 70,000 or so people in here are holding their breath, watching her, listening as her fingers strum the chords. And her voice, it sounds like nothing on earth. She's so tiny, and yet her voice fills the entire arena, starting off low and husky before swelling to the high notes with a burst of electrifying energy. It's heartbreaking and poignant and imbued with a sense of sadness that brings tears to my eyes for a moment. You can feel the waves of emotion rippling through the stadium as people listen, drawn into the story she's weaving. Tens of thousands of people hold lighters and their cameras flash lights up. That feeling of pride I have when the final note dies away leaves me breathless. It's as if the world stands still and time stops. I want to rush on stage and pull her into my arms, The need propels me as I take a step out from the wings, but then the stadium erupts into applause and screams, and I freeze. The ground shakes. The air splits with the thunder of clapping, and I watch Luna's face as she blinks and takes in the crowd's reaction, as if she doesn't quite believe it. But then her timid smile becomes wider before splitting into a grin. "Thank you," she says into the crowd, her hand cradling the microphone. "That one is called Lighthouse, and it's going to be the first track on my new album." More whoops and cheers. She turns and walks in my direction. Halfway across the stage, she stops, freezing like a deer in headlights. She's being tracked by the spotlight, and so she's blinded by the lights, but she must have seen my silhouette, standing on the edge of the wings. I step forward, toward her, and I see her flinch in fear. Shit. She thinks I'm him. I take another step forward, this time into the light, and watch the fear on her face transform immediately into disbelief. She takes a huge gasping breath as though she's seen a ghost. I take another step forward and she does too. We're both in the spotlight now. There's maybe a foot of space between us, but I feel the invisible barrier that had suddenly appeared between us. "What are you doing here?" she stammers. "I love you," I blurt out. She takes a step back, looking at me in total shock, her guitar hanging limp in her hand. Oh God. I realize I'm on stage right in the spotlight and we're both being watched by tens of thousands of people. The cheering and the clapping is going to be subsiding, but I can't really tell because all I can focus on is Luna and the fact that she's so close but still so far, like on the other side of a black hole. And I just admitted I loved her, and she's not saying anything. Is it too late? But the next thing I know, she's taking a step forward and falling into my arms, and we're kissing, and it feels like no time has passed at all since the last time, but also like 1,000 years have, because I've missed her so much, more than I think I knew. And the feel of her in my arms again is tugging at the knots, and all this stifled longing and heartache I've been carrying around inside me is finally coming loose. I can feel tears against my cheek, and I don't know if they're hers. I pull her even closer. I'm never letting her go again. Vaguely in the background, I can hear a roar gaining in magnitude, screams and clapping that are so deafening they almost drown out Luna murmuring, "I love you," with her lips pressed to mine. We're on a stage in front of 70,000 people, but it's just the two of us, alone, locked in our own world, spinning in our own orbit. Epilogue. 6 months later. Will's point of view. She's sitting on the deck in the morning sun, bare legs and bare feet balanced on the rail as she strums her guitar, the sweater she's knitting on the floor beside her. In the distance, the lake glitters like frost, as I smile as I do every morning taking in the view, not just of Luna, but of the green forest forming a barricade to this private galaxy we have created. It feels like we're the only people in the world, even though on the other side of the lake the camp is in full swing. I'll take the canoe over there in half an hour and go to work while Luna stays here making music, reading, and relaxing. At lunch, I'll come back and we'll swim together in the lake, sometimes more than just a swim, lie naked afterward on the dock and let the sun dry us. After I'm done with the kids in the evening, I canoe back over and Luna and I fish for our supper, and then we sit around the campfire wrapped in blankets beneath a ceiling of 1,000,000,000 stars, and Luna sings me what she's written that day. Her album is almost ready. She's working with Marty to put the finishing touches on it. I never knew her life could be so simple and so perfectly blissful. I'll be staying here for a while. Luna plans to record her album here in the woods. She set up a recording studio in the cabin. LA feels a world away. The whole drama surrounding Jamie and the letters never followed us here. When Luna found out Jamie was the one sending them, she told Marty that she didn't want to press charges because she didn't want to be dragged into anything messy and complicated. She wanted to stay out of the limelight and focus on being happy instead. So that's what we've been doing, focusing on being happy, and it's working. In the fall, we're planning a trip to Florida to see Zoe and Tristan, and at Christmas, we'll be back in LA for Carla and Francisco's wedding. I don't know what would have happened if she hadn't seen me, though, because I know that one way or another, we would have found our way back to one another. Luna's point of view. Once Will has gone to work, rowing across the lake, I sit outside in the rocking chair, on the veranda, and tweak a few verses of what is going to be the final song on my album. I promised Marty I'll send him the full track list next week. Despite everything, I'm still working with him. I couldn't be too mad with him given that he's the one who went and found Will and brought him back into my life on a rescue mission. The big difference, however, is that now Big difference, however, is that now he's no longer driving the car. I am. He sometimes likes to backseat drive, but I'm the one with my hands on the wheel and my foot on the gas, or more often than not, my foot on the brake. It's good to coast idly for a while, windows down, no sense of having to be anywhere at a particular time, and only a vague idea of the destination. I'm living free, and the best thing is that I'm not on the run. Living out here in the forest with Will is the perfect antidote to the last 19 years. Here, beneath the blanket of stars at night, lying in Will's arms, it feels as if the world has stopped existing and it's just the two of us, floating in space. There's no more chorus in my head telling me I'm worthless, or that I'm not good enough, and in that silence, my own voice is getting stronger. I've shed the old Ona completely, and I'm someone new, someone stronger and happier now, and above all, surer. If before I was balancing on a high wire, trying desperately not to lose my footing, now I'm standing on solid ground, and I could never fall with Will beside me, as I know he'll always be there to catch me. The only piece of my life that still feels like it hasn't healed is the relationship with my mom. She hasn't forgiven me for firing her as my manager and freeing myself from her control, but I haven't forgiven her for the lies and the pressure she put me under. I promised to still support her, but I took control of my finances. I gave her a credit card with a limit on it and a house at Beverly Hills, which I never felt was a home anyway, and I promised her that I'll always take care of Matthias. I'm also happy knowing that Carla is there to take care of him too. Maybe one day I'll be in a better place with my mom, but until then, I'm going to live my life without apologies. I think I've earned that. When Will arrives back for lunch, I'm waiting on the dock. I help him pull the boat in and tie it up to its mooring post. He brings mail, a FedEx package from Marty, which I open with shaking hands right there on the dock. I pull out the vinyl record inside. It's the first single of my new album, Fall Into Me, and it's the first record I've ever been truly proud of. The album cover is a picture of a shooting star over water. I stare at it for several seconds before I hand it to Will and delve back into the envelope again, this time pulling out a piece of paper, which I also hand to him. He takes it, frowning. "What is it?" he asks, scanning it. "It's the deed to this place," I say, gesturing to the cabin. "It's in your name." He looks up at me. "What?" "I bought it for you." He looks at me, not understanding. "I think you belong here," I tell him with a shrug, because it's true. He's so at home here that uprooting him would be like pulling up a cactus from the desert and planting it in the ocean. I step closer, brushing my cheek against his shoulder. "I can see you here as an old man. Can't you?" Will stares down at the piece of paper, his fingers gripping it so tight that I worry it will tear. He stares for so long without saying anything that I start to worry that I've done the wrong thing. He can be funny sometimes about money and the disparity in our incomes. Not that it means anything to me, but I know that for him it's important that he can provide and stand on his own 2 feet. But finally, he looks up at me, and I can see his eyes are wet with tears. "I can see me here, yes," he says. And with that, he smiles and pulls me toward him, his hand resting on my hips. With our grandchildren playing on the dock, and you sitting in that rocking chair, right here, playing guitar. My face splits into a smile so wide my face hurts. I kiss him, tasting the sun and lake water on his lips. "I love you," he murmurs. The words are like helium injected into my bloodstream. Every time he says it, I think I could rocket into space, but for Will's hands are on my waist now, anchoring me into Earth. "You are amazing," he says, pulling away to stare at the piece of paper. "I can't believe you did this." "I figured we could live between here and Oceanside," I say, looping my arms around his neck. "Oceanside?" he says. "For real?" I nod. "I've been talking to Robert. I'm going to rent this place. So we have a place at the beach too, by your family and our friends." I smile, a little shy still to claim Will's friends as my own, but he seems happy. His face lights up, but then he stops smiling. "Are you sure?" he asks. "I mean, it's not LA. That's so far from that world." I grin and reach up on tiptoe. "You're my world," I say to him. He leans down. "You're my whole galaxy," he says, grinning, and his lips meet mine. And that's the end of the book. I hope you liked it.